Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
you're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
all right, everybody, happy Friday. Welcome to Rob Nelson Live. It's going to have a quick Friday night show. Nothing going on in the world today. It's all the same. It's all the same news over and over and over. Well, yes and no. So the Epstein files, the thing that just won't go away. What is going on with the Epstein files? What is going on? I mean, this has been the most politicized, played out story. I mean, for years, Democrats sat on top of this thing. They did not want it to come out. They did not want the connections coming out to Bill Clinton, to other Democratic leaders. Epstein was definitely a Democrat and socialized primarily with Democrats. He'd socialized with Donald Trump, who was a businessman, but at the time a Democrat. They didn't want it coming out. Republicans did. And Republicans take over. And Pam Bondi as attorney in Florida and, on Fox News all the time. And then when she's, going to be attorney general talking about how she's going to do the full release and, Kash Patel, who, on his shows and on CNN and Fox News, whenever he had a chance to talk, was always like, he wasn't on CNN very often, was always like, we need full release. This is unacceptable. The Biden administration's hiding it. He becomes the head of the FBI. And suddenly, and Trump says they're going to release it. And suddenly they're in office and, they're not going to release it. And Pam Bondi, the attorney general, says, I've got a pile of documents on my desk. I've got a client list. We're going to go through it and we're going to release things once redacted. To which, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles said in the Vanity Fair interview, which, like it was a hit piece or not, she clearly said Pam Bondi whiffed. She's like, there was no client list. There was no stack of papers on her desk. She just whiffed on this. What is going on? So now, with pressure from Rep. Khanna from California, a progressive, and Rep. Massey, a Republican from Kentucky, pushing, they push a bill for the full release of the Epstein files by today, by the 19th, a full release of everything with redactions only for victims and those underage. And so today, a whole bunch of stuff comes out, and it is obviously not a full release of stuff. It's not even close. And the Attorney General, Todd Blanchard, Deputy Attorney General, is also part of this. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, the law, and Massey comes out and says it on X. He's like, this grossly fails to comply with both the spirit and the letter of the law, and it does. And what the fuck are these people hiding? So what they release is a bunch of stuff, including pictures of Bill Clinton in a hot tub. Pictures of Bill Clinton and Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and all other different people, and a picture of him in a hot tub next to somebody whose face is redacted. And of course, the White House comes out and says, well, we only redacted, minors and victims. Oh, so there's a woman in a hot tub next to Bill Clinton who's a minor or a victim, supposedly. And then there's a grand jury file that's completely redacted. And that just sent AOC over the edge, among others. I want to be clear. I don't care what side you're on this. Everybody's been hiding something. Democrats have been hiding it. Now Republicans in the White House are hiding it. What are they hiding? Who are these people protecting? And like Marjorie Taylor Greene or not, I will give her credit. She pushed for this. It is, coincidence or not, it is when Trump just literally burned ties with her, burned the bridges to the ground. And she said, look, I'm not going to defend these rich, powerful men who took advantage of these women, abused them, trafficked them, raped them. I'm not going to defend it. They are all covering up for somebody. Who? Who is being covered up for? Who are the Democrats covering up for? And who now is the current White House covering up for? And if you're not covering up, then just release everything. This is not hard, guys. This is easy math. Everything. Let's try this again. Everything. Look, we're going to release everything. At this point, I don't even care if you do redactions. I don't even care if you do redactions for the victims. I don't even care. No one left in this thing is a minor. For minors, there's no minors left. They were if they were 15, 16, 17, they're adults now. Release it all. At this point, I don't care. Release every single word, every single name, every single file. Release the entire thing and let the American public decide. That is the only ethical, legal, and I would argue consistent thing to do. And if not, yes, I will take a side here. If not, Pam Bondi should resign. You whiffed on it the first time. You're an okay attorney general. You should resign. If you can't do this, which again, you said you were going to do before you were ever attorney general, you said this should happen. I watched you say it on Fox News many times. Then you said you were going to do it. Then you said you kind of were doing it. Then the chief of staff to the president said you really weren't. You never really had the list of people you said you had. Do it. Do it or resign. Because your boss, the president, doesn't want you to do it, then just resign. One or the other. Do it or resign. At this point, I don't even care about any redactions. I don't care about who's getting redacted to protect who, because everybody just says we're redacting to protect people, and you have no idea. Thus, AOC actually calling for Pam Bondi to resign. She says the cover-up's out in the open. This is far from over. Everyone will have to answer. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, whole admin. Protecting a bunch of rapists and pedophiles because they have money, power, and connections. Bondi should resign tonight. Now, again, fair point. However, Democrats, you guys did it too for 4 years under Biden. Which to mention, did Epstein really kill himself? The question we'll never know. I've never believed he did. I probably never will. I think they wanted him gone, bye-bye, silenced. So there was a 119-page document, super redacted, like almost the entire thing. And that's what AOC, other Democrats, and Rep. Thomas Massey, the Republican from Kentucky, who I like. He's an America First guy. He's a definite, I'm going to do what I think is right, and he's a definite uber conservative. I mean, he's in the uber conservative side. But they basically redacted most of this grand jury testimony. It's not okay. It's just not okay. And they're not complying with what the law said they had to do by the 19th, which is today. They are not complying. They are stalling. There is more they're not putting out. They're putting it out selectively. They're putting out things that make Democrats look bad. Who cares? Bill Clinton was in a hot tub with who the fuck ever. Who cares? Bill Clinton's irrelevant. What's relevant is who's covering up for who's still today. And at this point, I don't know who the Biden administration was covering up for. But now the Biden administration isn't in power. Republicans are in the House, they're in the Senate, and they're in the White House. So who are you covering up for? And if no one, then release absolutely, unequivocally everything. I'm going to say this again like a broken record. Everything. I'll spell it EVRYTHING. Not some, not part, not a little today, some more tomorrow. Everything. And honestly, I swear to God, don't redact a thing. Don't redact a thing. Put it all out there and let us decide. This redaction thing is total BS. And, the White House is gonna say, and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche did say, under the leadership of President Donald J. Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi, God, they're starting to sound like Marxists. Under the leadership of Chairman Mao, like everything's got to be under the leadership of President Donald J. Trump, under the great leadership of our supreme leader. We're going to talk about that in a second. The Trump Kennedy Center thing is going way too far. But this unprecedented disclosure highlights our commitment to following the law, being transparent, and protecting victims. BS, BS, BS. You are not trying to be transparent. You are trying to be selective. You are not trying to protect victims. You might, in some cases, be protecting victims. Your primary goal is to protect whoever it is, cause those people to become victims. And I do not know why or who you're trying to protect, but somebody. And you clearly are not being transparent and in accordance with the law. Otherwise, you wouldn't have both the Democrats and the Republicans who wrote the bill saying you are neither complying with the spirit nor the letter of the law. You're not actually doing what the law specifically said you had to do by today, nor are you complying with the spirit, the essence of what that also entailed. You're not doing either, neither the spirit nor the actual directive letter telling you to do blank. I get trying to protect the victims, but the victims have now become an excuse. And that's where Marjorie Taylor Greene's right. The victims have become a cop out, an excuse, a red herring for not releasing stuff. Release it all, release everything. And they're saying more stuff's going to come out over the next coming weeks. And who knows? This just goes back to something so fundamentally distorted and broken in our political system. And it's really sad. Both parties come in and do the same thing the other party does, literally around the same issues. They just flip roles. When Biden was in office, when the Democrats were in Congress, controlling the House, Republicans flailed against them for refusing to release this stuff. And who were they covering for? Pam Bondi led the charge. Kash Patel led the charge. Donald Trump said it when he was running. Now you guys are in power and you're doing the same thing. And just like they did when they were in power, they're saying we are releasing stuff. We're releasing stuff consistent with protecting victims' identities, and we're looking out for the best, and we're not trying to protect anyone. That's what the White House is saying. We're trying to protect the victims and redacting to protect victims and minors. There's no one left who's a minor, by the way. And we're doing exactly what the law is asking us to do, which you're not. And you fought the law. And I'll be really clear, and I've said this before, you never needed a law. Congress never needed to pass a law that Donald J. Trump, let's just say it the way you all say it, who worked for him, under President Donald J. Trump's leadership, he signed a bill. You never needed to sign the bill. He had the authority to simply release those documents as the president, as the chief executive, just like he's done with other things. He had the supreme, complete, and total authority, which he's fought in front of the Supreme Court to argue he has. He is vested in him, in Article 2 of the Constitution. He has all the power needed to direct the release of all the Epstein files. He never needed a law that he then signed. So that was a game right there, making everybody bring a law, which he didn't really want brought, then saying he'd sign, then he signed, now they're not complying with it. Release everything. I know the president doesn't listen to this. I don't know if anybody who's a president supporter or works for the president does, but my appeal would be, Mr. President, do what you said you would do. Do what you've told us over and over again you can do, and have the power to do. Release everything. Unredacted, release it all. And let the chips fall where they may. I don't really care about seeing pictures of Bill Clinton topless in a tub. I don't care about seeing with Diana Ross and Michael Jackson. I don't care for this game of both sides just weaponizing this against one another. And yes, the victims have been long forgotten. But it's not even about the victims at this point. It's about the cover-up. It's about who are we protecting. It's about how powerful these circles of power are, and they cross over politics in both parties. They cross into business. They cross into technology. I mean, this isn't about Bill Clinton. Democrats are right about that. It's not about Donald Trump, although I don't know why the president is refusing to release this. Whoever this is about, whatever this is about, it's about covering up for a whole lot of wealthy, powerful people who, again, I think cross over into a lot of different buckets. Political power on both sides, Democrat and Republican. Business power, again, regardless of party. Enormous wealth. Technological leadership, the Bill Gates, etc. Celebrities, all of it piled in. British royalty, I'm sure other heads of state, foreign leaders, a whole lot of people in the Epstein web. I don't care if you're going to look guilty by association. Everything needs to come out. And until then, the American people have every right, and you should be just pissed that the government just keeps playing games with you and just keeps telling you, don't notice what you see here. And I don't care who's in power. And I can say Trump's doing a better job than Biden, which, by the way, not only is that obvious, but can you name someone who did a worse job than Biden? I can't think of a worse president in American history. I know a fair amount about American history, certainly not in modern American history. I don't even know if I can go back and find one. By any measurable standard, Joe Biden was the worst president we've ever had. And he was an ultimate failure on so many levels, including that he ran on the argument that he wasn't Donald Trump, hid in a basement, had his administration cover up his massive cognitive decline and his absolute incapacity. And before the cognitive decline, he was not fit. He was not a leader. He never was. That's why he lost for decades trying to run for president. And then gets kicked out by the very guy who his entire campaign was, I'm running to not be Donald Trump. People gave him 4 years and booted him out and put Donald Trump back in. So that just tells you everything. That said, Donald Trump is a way better president. And there's a lot I like that he's doing. But some of this stuff is just becoming inexcusable, and it's becoming the same thing. It's just telling people everything is not what you see. Anything that's bad is a made-up lie by the Democrats. If your prices seem high, if your health insurance seems high, it's a fantasy you have. Your prices aren't high. Yes, your prices are high. Yes, the cost of living is extravagant. That's why there's a socialist mayor about to be inaugurated into New York City and in Seattle. And I have a feeling the socialist candidate against Karen Bass in LA has a good shot of winning that election. Yes, things are hard for people. No, they're not what they should be. Yes, Biden is responsible for a lot of that. That's true. But Biden's not the president. And Democrats don't run Congress. Republicans do, and President Donald J. Trump is the president. So it's on you guys to fix it and stop telling people it's fixed. Everything isn't the greatest it's ever been in all of human history. I'm sick of hearing that. And anybody who buys that, you're really stupid, really dumb if you buy that. Any more than you're just as dumb if you bought Joe Biden's the most effective, efficient, on-the-go president we've ever seen. Run circles around everyone. If you bought that for this much time, you were retarded. Everything's not the best it's ever been. Donald Trump's doing some amazing things. America's not, and it's on a path. And the economy's growing. There's a lot of good stuff going on. But everything's not perfect. It's not the best it's ever been. And it doesn't have to be. It's a work in progress. And the Republicans will lose the midterms if they run, just like the Democrats did, on don't look at what you see here. That's all a lie from the other side. Everything's perfect. No. But you can make a solid argument things are better with us and going to keep getting better with us than they did with the Democrats. That's a legit argument. But don't pretend everything's not what people see, because people know what they're paying for things. People know what their lives are like. People know what their kids are up against. People know the mess we're in. And yes, an enormous amount of that mess may have been caused by a different party, but the party in power now has the job to fix it if they want to keep control and get us another 2-year round and then a 4-year round. So all that is my way of saying honesty helps here. And this whole thing with the Epstein stuff is just an example of a deep institutional, deep state and not deep state systemic problem. And it's been going on for too long and it needs to break. That's all I got to say on that. I got one other short story for you guys. Evita Duffy Alfonso. She's the daughter of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. Remember, Sean Duffy, before he was on Fox, before he was a congressman, before he was a Secretary of Transportation, was a reality TV show star in Big Brother. I actually had him on my Fox show. I know the whole part of the cast afterwards, a couple years later, but he's had an interesting trajectory. Anyway, his daughter has called for the abolition of the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration. The abolition. Okay. Because she was treated poorly by agents and endured, quote, an absurdly invasive pat-down. Now, this is an interesting story for a couple of reasons. She wrote, TSA equals unreasonable warrantless searches of passengers and their property. That means it violates the Fourth Amendment and is therefore unconstitutional. Please abolish. Tagged Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Now, her story is she said she nearly missed her flight after TSA made her wait 15 minutes for a pat down because she was pregnant and didn't want to get radiation exposure from their body scanner. The agents were passive aggressive, rude, and tried to pressure me and another pregnant woman into just walking through the scanner because it's, quote, safe. I mean, I've heard different things about it, different things about whether the scanner's safe or not. I think it is. I don't think you a high exposure going through, but that said, you don't want to do it, it's fine. But then they're going to pat you down. Okay. After finally getting the absurdly invasive pat down, I barely made my flight. All this for an unconstitutional agency that isn't even good at its job. So she goes on and kind of says she should have handed over her biometric data to Clear, where she could get the privilege of waiting in a shorter line to be treated like a terrorist in my own country. Is this freedom? Travel brought to you by George Orwell. Now, and she's upset about having to submit biometric data, submit yourself to radiation exposure. The golden age of transportation cannot begin until the TSA is gone. Okay, I'm not a TSA fan, so I'm just start with that. And I had Bill Clinton's former Homeland Security top advisor on a number of years ago on my radio show in LA. And he called it Potemkin security, that, after 9/11, we established security to make people feel safe, which I've thought forever. Because every time they do a test, or the FBI or whoever tries to get stuff through TSA, they do. Like, oh, we smuggled a bomb through. Like, the people who want to can figure it out. Potemkin security means it's made to make you feel safe when it doesn't really provide any safety. And I've argued forever that's what TSA does. It doesn't actually make our planes safer. It just makes you feel safer. If we pat you all down, if we check everything, if we make sure you don't have a bottle any bigger than this with any liquid in it, you're fine. You can bring lighters and stuff. I bring lighters all the time. You can bring all kinds of stuff through. You just can't bring certain things through. And those certain things seem to often not make sense. We check everything thoroughly. A bottle of water, that could be very dangerous. We check it all. We pat you down. We make you all wait in lines. And we put you on planes and tell you you're safe. Well, you're actually not safer probably than without it. Maybe a teeny bit, but not for the most part. No. It's an enormous amount of time to make us feel safe. When, again, every test I hear about, when they try to smuggle stuff through, they get it through. So I am not defending TSA. I do not think the Transportation Security Administration is essential. I think it's bloated, and I think it just literally is invading everyone's privacy. I would agree, and I think it's, as I said, it's Potemkin security. It always has been meant to make you feel better. If you're taking your shoes off and your belt off, well, you get pre-check, and then you don't have to take your shoes and your belt off, but you still can't bring in a bottle of water, because that water, you can take a big sip of it right there, and they're not going to let you bring it in. Yeah, but would I drink a big sip of something poison? Oh, you might. Who knows? But we're not letting you bring it in. Nope. But a little bottle of shampoo, maybe, but nothing else. We're going to check everything. We're going to open everything up, and we're going to pat you down. If anything beeps, I get it all the time. My belt, not my belt, my pants. My pants. You have something in your leg? I don't. You have like a chipper thing and metal rod? No, I don't. I don't know. I set the beepers off. So I am not defending TSA, but I will say this, and it's funny to me. The daughter of the transportation secretary has 15 minutes slowed down and nearly misses her flight, throws a shit fit, a tizzy fit, writes a giant thing saying the whole thing should be abolished. It's unconstitutional. Welcome to the world, Miss Duffy Alfonso, of most every other American who doesn't have a parent who's running the Department of Transportation, who's not a cabinet member to the president. It's what we all deal with all the time. 15 minutes? That's nothing from some people. You have no say. And if you say anything, they make it longer. If you resist, if you complain, if you have attitude, oh my God. Try just having a conversation with a flight attendant who wants you to do something that's not like a safety measure. She just doesn't want you to, like, whatever it is, don't, just saying, I'm picking on flight attendants. Sometimes the things you're like, they're like, no, can I, no. Can I? No, don't ask. Okay, sorry. But no, the TSA, like, you have no room. You have no margin to resist. You just happen to run into the problem. But you're like in the elite because your dad runs is the Secretary of Transportation. So you're in the like 0.0001% of travelers and you're having problems. Now, good, because now maybe the elites, once it touches them, realize, hey, this sucks. But it's funny how dramatic it is, how it's like, this is unconstitutional and should be abolished. Where were you? Why weren't you saying this last week before you were slowed down? Before you didn't have the pat down you didn't want? Did you just notice today? The first time you traveled and noticed the TSA is a joke? No, it just affected you. So now that it affects you, you want the problem to go away. And this is the problem with power and with elites. And it always has been and probably always will be. But I find it interesting that you never complained about it before. You weren't on a mission to get rid of TSA before, but you have one bad day, one almost miss your flight, one pat down, one passive aggressive interaction that slowed you up for 15 minutes, and you want the whole thing gone. It's the worst thing ever. It's unconstitutional. Wow. Well, welcome to America. Welcome to what everybody else faces every day, voicelessly. I wish those with these powerful voices decided to express their voice before it somehow affected them personally, and they suddenly took personal umbrage with it. But I guess all politics is personal, and that applies to all those in power who are powerful. It's personal. Always has been, I guess, always will be. I'm going to hope for better. I know that's a big-ass hope, but hey, it's Christmas, so I'm going to make a wish. All right, everybody. I will see you all on Monday before the holiday. Have a great weekend. It's Rob Nelson Live. Thanks for watching.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker, it's good to see you. Listen,
You're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.